The people who operate the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant have apologized for failing to report the radiation exposure of their employees. The revelation raises questions over the safety of 20,000 people who have worked or are currently employed at the crippled plant. Utilities in Japan are legally obliged to measure workers' individual radiation dosages and keep them under certain limits. Power companies submit the data every year to a national database. But representatives of Tokyo Electric Power Company say they have filed no radiation figures for people who had worked at Fukushima Daiichi since the nuclear meltdown of March 2011. But representatives of Tokyo Electric Power Company say they have filed no radiation figures for people who had worked at Fukushima Daiichi since the nuclear meltdown of March 2011.
It's another bullshit experiment.
TEPCO officials say it took time to transfer the data into electronic form because for some time after the accident, workers recorded their radiation doses on paper. The officials say they will submit the data by the end of next month.
Oh my God!
Officials at Japan's nuclear regulatory body have released new evacuation guidelines for any future nuclear power plant disaster. The announcement is about 1 month behind schedule. The Nuclear Regulation Authority says residents within 5 kilometers of a disaster-stricken nuclear plant must evacuate before the release of radioactive substances. Iodine tablets will be distributed to households within 5 kilometers of a nuclear plant. Iodine helps prevent the thyroid gland from absorbing radioactivity. Residents within a 5 to 30 kilometer radius will be asked to evacuate if radiation levels reach 500 microsieverts per hour. The new guidelines replace measures set in October last year. In compiling their review, officials spent more than 2 weeks from the end of last month gathering over 3,000 opinions from the public on what to include in the new guidelines. Among the opinions, some people said iodine tablets should be distributed over a wider area. Others called for lowering the radiation level requiring evacuation. However, almost none of these views are reflected in the guidelines. NRA officials say they drew up the new rules based on lessons from the March 11th disaster in 2011. Now the guidelines are set. Local governments within 30 kilometers of a nuclear plant must review by March 18th their own disaster preparedness programs. But due to the NRA's delay, many have yet to decide on evacuation methods and locations.
It's another bullshit experiment.
Executives from a major Japanese trading house are hoping to tap into Japan's volcanic resources. They want to build a geothermal power plant in the country's largest national park. Officials from Marubeni were in Hokkaido Tuesday for talks with representatives of the local government and a hot spring association. The trading house executives have been studying the possibility of building a power plant in the Daisetsuzan National Park. They hope to begin surveying the ground in June. They want to use electromagnetic waves to check the scale and location of the heat source. Local council members would then study the impact of a power plant on the local environment in hot springs. It would be the first such survey in a Japanese national park. The government last year eased regulations for developing parks.
It's another bullshit experiment.
Oh my God, no way, dude. This is the craziest thing. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen right now. Keep it going. No way, dude. What is going on over there in the corner by the kitchen, dude? What is going on, dude?
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says the latest talks were useful. Kerry said he hoped Iranian leaders will respond positively.
We look to Iran to carefully review the credible, confidence-building steps that the B5+1 have put on the table.
Kerry said U.S. President Barack Obama has made clear his determination to implement his policy that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon.
Thank you very much, everybody.
North Korean authorities have trumpeted the achievements of scientists, engineers and others who participated in the latest nuclear test, but they withheld the names of the honorees. The Supreme People's Assembly gave medals and decorations to more than 11,000 people for their contributions to the test 2 weeks ago. Officials announced the number of recipients and the awards they received, but they did not disclose any names. Authorities honored almost 6,000 people in December for their part in the launch of a rocket. They announced the names of 155 of those people. Last month, the United Nations Security Council froze the assets of 4 of those individuals and 6 groups involved in the launch.
Delegates from 6 major powers wrapped up talks with their counterparts from Iran on the country's nuclear program and promised to meet again. They proposed a gradual easing of sanctions provided they get some concessions. Iranian representatives praise the idea. Representatives of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council and Germany met Iranian officials in Almaty, Kazakhstan. They want leaders in Tehran to scale back their nuclear ambitions. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Catherine Ashton, chaired the 2-day talks. The Iranians sent their top nuclear negotiator, Saeed Jalili. The delegates said they'll ease economic sanctions if Iranian scientists stop enriching uranium to 20% purity. Beyond that concentration, it's just a short step to weapons-grade uranium. Jalili says the proposal is positive and constructive. He's calling on nations to lift sanctions on Iran. He says hostile actions should cease and confidence building should be promoted. Details of the proposals have not been revealed. The delegates agreed to meet again in mid-April in Almaty for further talks. They also said they'd get experts together next month in Istanbul, Turkey for technical discussions.
Surprise, it won't come as a shock, 'cause I never believe their lies. When the bombs fall, and they could fall any time, they're gonna end it all for a third of mankind. When the bombs fall, don't have the wool put over your eyes. When the bombs fall, you'll wonder how you've been so blind. When the bombs fall, and if they fall on me, my dear, you better look to the sky, 'cause your redemption is near.